Alright, so today we're going to look at the One Up EDC Everyday Carry Tool. So I was kind of reluctant to get one of these for quite a long time actually. A friend of mine's been telling me to get one since, I reckon, just before I bought my Remedy, so start of last year. He had one, he swears by it, he was always pulling it out and using it and always telling me, oh, get one. I was like, nah, bit of a waste. Like, if something goes wrong, I just do the walk of shame back to the car. Never really do big, long rides, heaps far away from the car or anything. When I got the Patrol, I'd seen more and more people rolling up with it and I thought, bugger, I've got to get one, see what it's all about. It's just going to be handy, you know, it's going to come in handy eventually one day. So when I got this thing, the rear shock, you need a 3mm Allen key to adjust the low speed compression. New bike, so you know, checking, making sure everything's tightened and whatnot. Being able to do that stuff trail side is killer. Having the tools packed on your bike somewhere, convenient, is excellent. So I don't carry a backpack, I don't like to carry tools, I don't like to carry anything really. I just like to have a reliable setup on my bike. Tyres that are resistant to cutting, you know, stuff like that. Everything checked before I ride, making sure everything's alright. So I got this, got it installed on the Patrol, got it tapped in, no worries. I think it was about $100. And then I got the plug set up as well. So I've got, in the little canister here, I've got a couple of strips of bacon, which maybe the One Up ones are a little bit thin, but you can double them up and just jam it into the tyre anyway. So got this strip of bacon. I've got it folded over on itself, so it goes in like a thicker chunk. But anyway, it's a small little prong. So if you've got the cut, you can kind of push one end of the prong into that cut and then feed it through. So you don't need a big, you're not creating a big entrance just to get your plug in with, which is what you get with some of the plugs. But I'm really happy with this. Happy to have a plug that I can just rip out, go psh, stick it back in. I don't have a CO2 or anything, but I am running rim protection in the back. I've got cush core in there at the moment, which I've ridden down a real gnarly rocky trail from top to bottom on a completely flat tyre with the cush core in there. It was just an exo tyre, and it was great. Having a bit of rim protection in there definitely made the ride back down to the car pleasant and easy and not really sketchy at all, to be honest. So having this, that was when I didn't have this plug. So I didn't actually have the plug when that happened, I don't think, the plug setup. So onto the tool itself. So I'm a fan of the plug setup, I'm a fan of the extra attachments you get in here. Let's pull this tool apart and have a look. So it's quite easy to pull apart. Chain link in there, emergency, so excellent. Fits in there, no worries. I just oil it every now and then, so I'll put a little bit of Bow Shield oil on that every now and then to keep the rust away, and because you do get a bit of water in here washing your bike. I generally take it out when I wash my bike, but sometimes I forget. So get a little bit of oil, get a little bit of water and surface, you know, start to get a bit of surface rust, but not the end of the world. So you got a tie lever here. You've got a chain breaker, which is actuated by a 3mm Allen key on the end there, which is cool. Comes with an array of Allen key sizes. Super handy. Love that it's got a chain breaker. You've got all of these, so you got your 6, your 8, you've got, has that got an 8? 6. And it's actually got a little thing where you put these two together, put this little sucker on the end here together, and that makes an 8mm Allen key, which is great. So it's got 1.5, 2.5, oh, I'd have to look it up, but it's got all your Allen keys that you're going to need on your bike, plus this little well-engineered, add two things together to create the 8mm, and it's also got, within that, this little sucker here acts as a cassette tool to do up and undo your top cap. So that's pretty cool as well. Works as a cassette tool in an emergency. Backwards. One thing I have found is if these bolts come loose, it becomes hard to get in and out of your steerer. So keep those bolts snug but not tight. If it's tight, you won't be able to flick your Allen keys in and out. So and the same again, just a little bit of bow shield on the connections, or a little bit of, just lube, just wet lube, to keep that stuff protected and moving well. So when you need it, you want it to be working right. So it's got a Torx bit, it's got all your Allen key sizes, it goes into the bike, no worries. So put it back together, put the top of the tie lever in, and then just click it in at the bottom, super secure. Now what I have noticed is if you put it into your bike with a lot of people run it with this bit here looking left to right out of your steerer. Now I've noticed if it's left to right, it rattles a little bit. So you can hear that. When you put it in straight in, with that north or south, so facing away from you or facing towards you, maybe face it away from you. I like to face it up to the front of the bike, just so my knee, if something happens, my knee's not going to come up and collect that and scratch my knee or whatever, or rip my knee guard down. Run it there, it's out of the way, it looks neat and tidy, and you don't get that rattle. You don't get because your seat tube, your head tube's essentially sitting like that. It's not completely vertical. So when it's sitting like that and that's there, gravity's pulling this down, and when you're bumping, going over bumps, it's going backwards and forwards. When it's like this, it's much, much less pronounced. So it is a little bit of rattle there still, but I don't notice when it's facing forward backwards. I notice it when it's sideways. So something to think about. Overall, I've gone from not really been into it at all before I got one to absolutely wouldn't have a bike without it now. So I've used it so many times, changing my suspension, doing up people's loose bolts or whatever, or for instance, I had a crash on Twisted Gum a month or so ago where I hurt my knee pretty bad. Now that crash twisted the bars and it moved one of my brake levers. So I run the brake levers light enough so that in a crash they'll move instead of brake. So that had to be moved back. As simple as pulling the tool out, getting the right, getting the star bit, back in the right position, do it back up, get the bars straight again, all of that stuff. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and then I was able to ride down to the car instead of having to limp the bike down, in a sore and sorry state. I could just get on and roll and just deal with the injuries when I got to the bottom. So One Up EDC definitely gets my tick of approval. I wanted to get the one that fits in the cranks that Sam Hill was running at one stage. I can't remember what it's called, but it's goes into your crank and it's magnetic. But I heard a few people saying that they were losing them on the trail, it was bouncing out and whatever. Very similar to this tool, but I really like the idea of it being in the crank, being nice and low, but the lack of positive retention kind of drew me away from that. So One Up EDC definitely gets my tick of approval. Love that it's got a chain, a quick link. Love that it's got a chain breaker. Love that it sits in there, no fuss, easy to get in and out. Like I said, if it gets hard to get in and out, put a little bit of grease on these O-rings as well. That definitely helps. A little bit of grease on the O-rings. Keep everything clean as well so it's not too dusty. And make sure those bolts are nipped up. Make sure those bolts aren't super loose, because it makes that tool ever so slightly wider, and that's what's creating that friction inside your tube. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up. Thanks One Up, champions. I didn't get this from One Up for free. I paid for this, so no sponsorship, but I'm saying definitely thank you. He's made a good product, and if you do ever want to give me some free stuff, I'm definitely down for it. So wicked, cheers.